surprise. It was in line with expectations. We had a slight reaction, but it got bought up really quick. And that's actually, I think that part's actually really bullish. Like when you get bought up that quickly, that's a positive change in price action in the markets. So we've had a nice 4 or 5 day grind. It looks like we probably got room up to here to the upper Bollinger Band. At this point, it's just all systems is on as long as we kind of hold over, right, these pre-market highs and build into it. I don't believe we should be trying to chase a 1% gap up at the open. We'll have to let things pull back. That's just the nature of the game. Let's start digging into the earnings plays, because I think today specifically, even if the market, like all these stocks are like just already ramping up right now, there should be enough PR plays out and, kind of news plays out that are going to move irregardless to the market. So when you think about trading, you have your macro plays. Those are just plays that follow the general index, right? So that's your NVIDIAs, AMDs, Microsoft, Apples, and then you're going to have, right, your PR plays out here. So let's run our Gapper scan and start running into this. So this VBAI, holy moles. So we're already seeing a big run in spec stocks of recent, so that's a change in character in the market as we kind of grind our way, into this bear market. And, we have the bear market has slowed down since October, right? So like, even though we're in a long-term bear market, we've really been in a range since October. And in a range, you will have pockets of strength where things are happening. We know that small cap biotechs are working, and then also the pumpers are back a little bit. And so some of these small caps are also going too. So this, obviously, we can't chase this thing up 300%. That's not really going to be, that's not really going to be our flavor, but this is a good sign. You want to see this kind of stuff. Maybe this YTN, this is, you're breaking over the 200-day moving average. You've got a really big base here, at that 4 spot. This thing used to be obviously many hundreds of dollars before all the splits. This thing is going to be, anytime you see stocks like this, though, that have done this many splits, that means it's a zombie company. So what I mean by zombie company is when you do that many splits, like your purpose of business is not to be in business or to make money. It's just there to have a company, and you pump up the stock price every blue moon, and then you put an ATM on and you start selling shares, and then it just craters, and then you reverse split it to get it, right, the price higher. And then they pump up the stock price, sell shares, and then because they're not going to make any money, and right, it's just an easy way. Like you can see, like this market cap is lower than, I mean, shoot, I've got people with 3rd grade reading levels in the chat room that have market caps higher than this company, right? So like top pit, right? So you have to kind of take this with a grain of salt. But this is a breakout, and for a one night stand kind of thing, this can work. Not my particular flavor, not my cup of tea. I'm a coffee man, but that's that's in the cards if you want to play this. You can see this Bed Bath and Beyond. Look, you got a gap up today. I actually, you're at 1, 2, 3, 4. This thing is, they're just upping this thing before it probably goes bankrupt. I'm kind of thinking maybe into this zone over here, you're probably going to catch a good short for a rubber band setup. If you can find the borrows, and if the margin is just not too crazy, that's probably, that's probably in the cards. Mara here. So these Bitcoin stocks are flying around, guys. The price of Bitcoin, you've also seen a rebound in cryptocurrency of recent. These type of plays, we probably do want to play them. They are the most beaten down, right? Some of the most beaten down kind of techie names. And with crypto rising, like this is probably something we want to play. I think this riot is maybe a slightly better location, so I think if we're coming in, right, we've got this maybe yesterday's high, and then you get your pre-market at 585. These are probably going to be the levels to trade around. So I would add both of these to the watch list. These work better on pulls. These are not necessarily like, they don't trade like low float stocks. They're a little bit grinder trenders. Like what I mean by grinder trenders, like there's some stocks that will have like just like big candles that come out of nowhere, right? MPCs, we call them MPCs, and sometimes they're NRBs. MPCs, NRBs we like to do. But like these are like grinder trenders. So you could see like this doesn't really trade like a low flow, right? Bonanza stock like this, BBAI. It's more of a trender grinder, which is fine. You just have to be aware, like you may be sitting in it for right an hour or so, 2 hours, sometimes to get your day trades going. But watch and see how if it tightens up under the previous day's high, that's going to be pretty good, right? So just something to kind of keep mind of. This Eric is gapping up here on some news. Hey, this is, I believe, like a Swedish company, something along that end. It's actually a $30 billion company. It does not trade very much. It's got the ATR on this is 17 cents per day. 17 cents per day, and then right on a 5-minute basis, the ATRs are really low. So I think that's probably not going to be in our cards. AMC. Hey, so if the market does hold up, these kind of names like AMC, CVNA, I think if the market holds up, you can see another squeeze in them. It's probably to this like 50-day moving average, maybe. That is the tour du jour right now, right? The trash when the markets heat up a little bit from those bottoms, these bear market rallies, it's, trash is king. And so the most beaten down, most crappy names are going to be the ones that typically go the most. A lot of times, like people like the technical analysts will say like, hey, we want to play relative strength names and stuff like that. That's a misnomer. In these bear market rallies, like you really want to go in with the most beaten down, trashiest names possible. And what's more trashy than AMC? So that's, you can play this one. This is also like Mara. It does not do MPCs. Like it does not just pop out of nowhere. It's a little bit more of a trender grinder too. Hey, this AAL, I don't know what's going on behind this thing, but this is probably, it's up too many days in a row. So like when you're looking at something that's like gapping up or moving around in the pre-market, that's not really going to be, when you're up 7-8 days in a row, that's a candidate more for a rollover. Stocks moving 3 to 5 day chunks, right? We're always talking about momentum burst. So like what momentum burst means is when you have a base, right? And you come out of it, right? So that's like, right? This is like a momentum burst. And so momentum bursts are usually in 3 to 5 day chunks. So when you have something like an AAL, that's not 3 to 5 day chunks, right? This is 8 days. It's been just grinding higher. That's not what we're looking for here. Hey, this Taiwan Semiconductor had earnings out today. It may move around for the day. Like it typically doesn't have a huge ATR because it trades overseas, right? It's an ADS. It's not actually like a NASDAQ stock, like a NVIDIA or something. So it may have some range on it, but like a lot of times these overseas stocks, like they move around at the open and then they just get stuck for the day. So not really the tour du jour for today. CLF. So you can see this is another one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days. If this has one more, if this is like another kind of spike, you can see you're getting into these resistance zones. I was thinking maybe 21. I probably think this is like a fader at some point during the trading day. I would add that for a fade later, especially if the market fades off. Beto, this is a Bitcoin stock. I think we want to play some of these Bitcoin stocks. So let's like take a look here. We got HUT, right? This is another one. BT, right? These all run in. So we have here on TC 2000, hold on. Right? We've got a blockchain list. And that's the easy thing about TC 1000. You can find lists for anything. So, right, like you can, anything you can think of, like, okay, a diversified conglomerates, trucking, right, communication, solar, whatever it is, you have lists for everything. So that's like always the beauty of like good software. So you can come here, let's connect these. So if you go red symbol, connect these, we've got a whole host of these names that are starting to, it's like, see something like this? Like, I don't know if it's going to have the liquidity we need. I did 1 million shares. This actually may work, 3 million. This is a nice chart because it's actually been coming back for a few days and it's going to have tons of movement on this one, I think. It's up 23%, so we can't chase this thing up. Let's see if it's something like this actually can work. I'll add this with the caveat that it really would have to do a little bit of pull, but it's got the basis to run. We've got Mara, we got the Hut Nation. I think we add this too. See this, like SDIG. If these Bitcoin stocks start to go, like, see this bad boy? This is at one, it's about 1 million shares a day in volume. But if you see here on the hourly, like, you've got this nice level that's starting, right, to develop here. You know, 55-ish trigger, that can work. So, you know, you can add like something like that on. You can see this bid F. This is already probably popping up a little bit too much. Riot, we already have. You can see here, you got the level. This is right on the hourly chart. So you basically a flag pattern on the hourly. Can. Can is like a ticker that's banned in our family. My uncle's in our chat room sometimes. And when these things were hot, like back here, my uncle's like day trading it with us in the chat room. He's like in his 60s and he had a kidney transplant. And my aunt was like out of town. And so my uncle's just by himself, like drinking beers, like eating Twinkies, who knows. And he ended up getting like having to go to the hospital for high blood pressure from having to trade because we were trading can in the chat room. And, you know, he's like semi-retired. So he's trading his IRA, which has like millions of dollars in it. So he was trading like 30, 40,000 shares of can back and forth, thinking that's what I do. And I was like, no, like I had like 2,000. And he's like, what? He was really going for it. So can is banned in our family. We're not allowed to speak of it. My mom was yelling at me like nonstop. She's like, what did you do to your uncle? I didn't do anything. I didn't know he was doing that. This BT, let's see here. Yes, 3.4, 6.4. So let's go here, check it hourly here. This is another one. Like you could put an alert here at 110. So what you want to do is like anytime you want to do alert, right? Just right click, you set a trend line, right click this bad boy, it'll set an alert. All right, now you're good to go. Now we ready to shred. Let's see if there's any other juicy ones here. Oh yeah, OSTK is kind of a blockchain. SQ counts as a blockchain too, for the most part. It's just this one's a little bit of a grinder lately. I'm surprised. You know, I thought when the market firmed up, this thing would really pick up some steam. It hasn't really been given that much juice. Who knows? Like what's going on with that thing? All right, let's go back into these gappers here real quick. Dun, 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 dun. Finish these bad boys out. So AMC's holding up. We got riots. Yeah, I think if we need a short, this is a short. SOV. I think we put this CVNA on the squeeze list. You've got a gap fill here till 650. From what I can gather, the short interest on this is between 50 and 80%. Between 50 and 80%. Yesterday was a big day. You can already see it's getting pushed around in the pre a little bit. I think this is the level. Like if we just kind of build over this 575, you know, look, this thing's a turd. It's probably going to go bankrupt. But for like, right, just a flip for today, if we could kind of hold into the zone, you know, it was like really basing out in the 560s in the pre-market too. If you can hold in the zone and build out, this one does like to go. Like they'll probably, it's liquid enough where, you know, they can turn the algos on and really just get this thing pushing. Like you see this thing yesterday, right? They just turned the juice on and it goes. And it just takes a little bit to get a short squeeze going. I think that this is probably, this thing is going to have a little bit of heat on it. So I would add this to the list for today too, and it's good. It's pulling back, so we don't have to chase this thing up a little too much. So we'll see if that thing builds out. CNK, I still like this, you know, as a base breakout and just like a play off, right? AMC. These airlines are untradeable. In general, guys, airlines are like the worst stocks to trade. They are going on a nice little run right now. There's certain stocks that just are better as swing trades than day trades. So like these are better for swing trading, holding overnight, because the ATR on these is like 1.75. So you got 1.75 ATR on a $50 name, like you're really pushing it, you know, really pushing it on what you can do. This Netflix is gapping up here, right? But you can see you're at the top of the Bollinger Band. And frankly, this could be maybe a little bit of a double top here. I think if the market rolls, that's probably a little bit of an easy short setup. Good. Coin here. This is up a lot of days in a row too, but it's not necessarily, you can be up a lot of days in a row, but not be necessarily extended. Like that's probably okay. You could see like, this is like a lot of these names are just a little bit long in the tooth. Like this is like a really good looking stock, but right, you're gapping up into the 50-day moving average. You know, that's why that gives me a little bit of pause today on whether the market actually, you know, what level the market actually holds, just because you got so many stocks that are like pushing into resistance. This actually looks pretty nice, but it just hasn't had any range lately. Let's see if XPEV is gone. So you can always look at some of the offshoots of these things, right? They travel together. I don't really see anything moving around in these. See on the downside what we got here. So this AMV is just opening down 20%. The SSR probably will trigger on this, and so you'll get probably like a momentary kind of pop on this. But this is like, that's a really tricky trade. Like usually the best red to green setups are on light opens, right? Where you just like nick down for a hot second and then you just dip and rip. When they're down this much, sometimes they like will drop down, fake out, fake out, fake out, fake out for a while in the morning before it rounds and like kind of ramps up. But then, you know, oftentimes they'll do like a fake red to green where, you know, they go red to green for like a hot second and then dump back. It's a much trickier trade. UVXY tag. Hey, so this blend like was like huge on yesterday. I believe I read somewhere that they have a big ATM. So they're probably selling shares like nonstop on that thing. Junk. You can see these are just too extended. Right, these are all just, and in general, it's like these are ETFs. We just want to ignore those anyways, right? Like these 3X ETFs. Moroku's gapping down a little bit. This is probably more of a candidate for red to green into this 50 spot. Good. So you've got the gap ups, gap downs, right? We always want to just check and see what the market is doing. You can already see the market's kind of fading back off. This is telling me because like we dipped down pretty hard and then we opened up, you know, we were up about 1% give or take. You know, we could be in for like an inside day type of scenario where we chop around, and you know that's a definite possibility. Look, even if we just drop down even 1 or 2% today, you know, it would really just take us back down into this range. Like it wouldn't be the end of the world or anything like that. It wouldn't even necessarily mean that like, you know, you have to load the boat on shorts but it just for quick day trades, that may be the case. We'll have to see like what's happening here, if this actually gets bought up or what's going to happen. And sometimes it looks like, you know, sometimes they may just turn the jets on to the downside. You never really know, but this is like a tricky open because, you know, we ramped down and then we were like, really took out the pre-market highs and we were really hanging here. And now we're kind of opening back. And that makes sense though, because look, we're at the 50-day moving average, right? Like it's not like we're coming out of like an easy base. You can see the stochastics are at like a 90. We're sitting at the 50-day moving average. That's a tricky location for the market. And then if you're looking at the SPY, you're at the 200-day moving average. So that's not like the easiest location where you're just like, oh, this is a rip spot, right? The market has been getting rejected by the 200-day moving average on the SPY for months. Since May, it's been doing this, right? Or April, May, right? Rejection, 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 rejection. So like, even if this is like we're start of maybe the end of the bear market, maybe, right? We don't necessarily know. It doesn't mean we're just going to like rip like at the first test of this 200-day moving average in a month. You know, it may take like a little bit of grindage in those levels, especially right with the rest of the indexes, you know, sitting at some resistance spots too. So we'll have to see kind of how the market opens up and how it shapes up. And if it does, then, you know, we'll play accordingly. Let's take a look at just some of the large cap names here, right? We've got NVIDIA is up about 1%. Interesting thing with NVIDIA also just kind of keep mind of is that we do have this, like it had, right, an inside day and an inside day after that big ramp. So you've got kind of multiple inside days. Let's see how, you know, if it starts to build in this like 161 zone, that'll be pretty bullish for this and probably take it to the 200-day moving average around 165, right? AMD is already cleared over the 50-day moving average, but you also have, right, see 1 day, 2 days of sideways movement. So, right, we can kind of keep in mind on those kind of names too. That'll be really important. Now let's just take a look at some just kind of cheapy spec names that I've, you know, put on the watch list for you guys to peruse through. I think this open, like these are probably ones that are more like get familiar with them, see if they get volume and pick up steam. You can set some alerts for volume and see or price movement. But at some point, if the market does heat up, these are the names that are going to get picked up the most, right? Like this DM, like this thing used to be $40. You know, these are things to watch if they start to get volume. This WeWork has a level here that is kind of tapping into. You know, this one is and this one is not extended. You know, you can come in like 185, and these things will get pushed around at some point. If the market starts to hold, people start looking for names to push around, like this Fubo. This is like, right, another one, like you've just got this kind of pattern over here. Once again, like I don't really like trading these small cap names, but these aren't technically small cap names. Like these were all like 30, 40 billion dollar companies. They just got nailed in the bear market. So now they're small caps, but you know, traditionally they did not trade like it. So you got this kind of right pattern it's coming out of. This is, you know, this has got a chance on it, and it'll be pretty liquid for the most part. I got Tel here. G-Sun's a turd. I would actually take that off. TRY's got a spot here at the 3. This DMNTK had a big run on Tuesday. Then we had an inside day yesterday. This is probably a candidate for a show and go today. I think this comp is too extended. See, like this CarMax, it's not really CarMax, it's CareMax, but you got a level here, especially if it clears over the 50-day moving average. The volume has been increasing the last 2 days. So it looks like that's probably got a little bit of juice on it too. And the rest of these, I'll put these in the Discord room for you guys. You can see this Veru. I got a bunch of alerts set on this one. If it gets, I'd just set one right here. And if it clears this kind of, I think if it clears 6, like that'll probably pick up some steam. You know, this thing was a high flyer for just a second. This type of setup has been working in the market really, really well. CVNA, I already talked about. Mara, good. And I like this Allo too. You know, this thing had a nice push yesterday. You know, base breakout setup over here. Base breakout setup is, I mean, that's the setup that's been working the most in percentage gains in this market. So that's another one, right? Good. Let's get this thing organized now, right? So we got 2 6 window layouts. I think we want to keep some of these semiconductors on, and also that'll just give us a little bit of a gauge on, you know, gauge on the overall market. Tesla is okay, but I don't know if that's really, that's going to be our tour du jour. What's happening there? Okay. We got these crypto names. I want to watch some of these Este, Ryan, Morrow, CBNA. We got CLF if we need a short. Good, 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 good. And then I definitely want, I think for the large caps, we day 2 plays on a firm and UPST. These are the large cap tech names that are down the most, that have the nicest bases, especially if we can take out, right, these previous days highs and do ORBs or quick pullback buys. These things are like, actually the floats on them are low enough where they don't necessarily even, you know, they don't really, you can like hit them as soon as they break. You don't need, you know, or they work on orbs just as good as quick pullback buys, where some stocks like that are a little bit thick, like Meta, almost always works better because it floats high, always works better on, right, the pullbacks. But I like this Allo too. If we can build here, we'll see if the volume comes in on this. Good. Keep a couple of these cheapies on. See. Oh man, see that get nailed again, huh? Should have woke up and shorted this. Yes. TI's gone. BBAI still cruising. I don't, dude, you chase that, it's like you're asking for trouble.